Hey guys, this is going to be an unboxing and first impressions video on the new Blackvue DR650GW-2 channel.
So if you've watched my previous videos, you know I've had the previous 550 model, and you would know that I really do like the 550 model.
The Blackvue cameras have had a lot of criticism against their bitrate, so their video quality looks very pixelated oftentimes in fast motion, but I still really like the cameras for all of the other features and the form factor. I think the cylinder design really close to the window is something that suits my needs. So I'm going to go ahead and show around the box. There's that side, just shows which package it is. This just shows the company information. So it's a much more simple box than the previous model, which had a clear window here, and you could see each camera in the clear window. It definitely went with a simpler packaging design on the inside too, just foam to hold it in. There's the main camera, which is obviously full HD. And then the rear camera, which is just 720. So this was 2 layers. So there we have the power cord, some clips and extra 3M sticking pads, and the SD card reader. The very long and very thin AV cord, just a Wi-Fi quick guide, and the more full featured manual. Obviously, from the outside you can see that it's a all black design now. The original was a little bit lighter gray, and also the front had the chrome rim, which I painted. I noticed this cap was actually different. This is much nicer and easy to remove compared to the old cap, which slid on. So one thing I just noticed while trying to slide this on is the lens on the 650 actually sticks out a little bit more. I believe it has a little bit wider lens than the 550. One other difference is the cap on the end is actually changed, so you don't have to remove the AV cable anymore like you did previously. I thought that was really annoying, having to always remove the AV cable here just to get to the memory card slot. Ideally, you could just break this off and not have it in there, or have this at all, but I think the point is they want you to unplug it and power it off completely before you take the memory card out. Overall, I think the matte black on the new model is actually better than I was expecting. You can see the light reflects a little bit more, but in your car, I think this is actually pretty good. I probably won't spray paint it like that. I might just cover that up, but that's all I feel like I really would need to do. And obviously having the black lens is a big plus. With the rear cameras, they're basically the same, but other than the fact that the old one, the 550, is a little bit more gray, and then the text or font is white on the new one. But other than that, they are the same. As expected, the CPL adapter fit on just fine, and even with the lens that sticks out a little bit more, that still had plenty of clearance, so I'm going to be using this in the front of my car, and it looks good.
So I'm going to show some footage now, and this is going to show many of the problems that I've been having so far that I haven't fully solved yet. This first clip shows how choppy it started to record. The audio was just fine, which is muted for this video, but this was with a SanDisk 64GB SDXC card, and I formatted it in the camera. So as you can see, this is obviously not usable footage at all. Luckily, I did try a 32GB Transcend card, and that worked just fine. I haven't had any issues with that, so I'll show some of that. So here the footage actually is smooth, and I notice the quality is noticeably better than the DR650GW. My main issue though is I'm only using a 32GB card suddenly, and this does have a higher bitrate than the 550, so I'm going to be able to fit less footage, especially since it's a front and rear camera. The rear camera also has a higher bitrate. So I was determined to try to get a 64GB card that would work. Some users said they used a Transcend one, so I ordered one from Amazon. So here I am using the 64GB SDXC card by Transcend, and I formatted it in FAT32 just because it seems that that would work better in most cameras anyways. You can see here how horribly blurry it is now, so it seems like I'm having the same issue that I had with my 550, which I was hoping wouldn't be an issue with this camera, but apparently it is. I've tried tilting the camera up and down a lot to see if that would change the focus much, but it doesn't seem to help a whole lot. My issue is my Civic has a very slanted windshield, so if I slant it down or tilt the camera down, I get so much of the dashboard, and that might be why it's focused on the dashboard and not the road or the cars. But if I tilt it up a lot, I'm getting too much of the sky, and it's screwing with the exposure, and I have to keep messing with the brightness to balance that out. So here I tried the trick where you manually focus the lens. I do have a video about what I'm talking about, so I'll link that above. But it seemed like it was working here. If you pause the video while driving by these cars, you can clearly make out the license plates. I'm not going too fast, but the 550 wouldn't likely have been able to read some of those license plates because of the low bit rate. So there you can see I put on the CPL, and now I'm just going another run through the parking lot. And overall I seemed pretty satisfied with the quality here, but again, this might be because I was going at a low speed. So here's some footage later in the day after I adjusted the focus, and suddenly here, when you pause the video, you can't read any license plates at all. That might just be because I'm going quite a bit faster, but even then I'm not going very fast. I'm definitely going under 30 miles an hour. So after testing this out for the last 4 or 5 days, I'm just very blown away at the varying degrees of quality of video. I had a lot of video that I lost when my original SanDisk card was corrupted, but a lot of that video footage looked very great, and when I paused it, even going 30 miles an hour, I would actually be able to read license plates of oncoming cars, but now I can't at all. So I'm not sure if that's because of the focus or what, but I'm going to have to keep testing this out. So based on my first impressions, I have a few suggestions if you plan on getting this camera. For one, don't get a SanDisk memory card if you plan on using a 64 gigabyte card. I actually didn't test a 32 gigabyte SanDisk, but I've heard a lot of issues with SanDisk cards. Like I showed at the beginning, my SanDisk was all choppy and wasn't recording smooth video. When I tried to transcend, it seemed to work just fine. I had an issue with the corrupting files, but I think that actually had to do with my Blackvue SD card reader. So I've been using a regular SD card reader in my PC, and so far I haven't had any issues with it corrupting. And I noticed that issue with all of the video files corrupting or just vanishing, even with my other cameras. And I just realized recently that I was always using that same SD card or micro SD card reader, so I think that was a big issue of mine. So make sure you have a good micro SD card reader when you're transferring files to a PC. So people always wonder why I'm still using a Blackvue, because I did have quite a few issues with my 550. And again, it all comes down to personal preference. I don't consider the picture quality the final factor on whether or not I want a camera. With the Blackvue, form factor was a big issue for me, and I really love the form factor and all of the other features, which I've said before many times in other videos. So I'm going to keep giving this camera a try. I'm hoping I can fix the focus issues again, like my last camera, and if it can't read license plates going 60 miles an hour, that's fine for me. I'd like to get it working as best as possible, but I'm not expecting it to look as good as a Panorama 2S or whatever. Like I've said before, I actually use a Mobius in tandem with my front camera, which used to be the 550 but now is the 650. So my Mobius is quite a bit better quality and higher bit rate, and when it comes down to it, if I really needed to, I could use that to read license plates, but generally, I don't think license plates are as important to read as people assume they're going to be. Even though I would always love to be able to read a license plate, I've been a delivery driver, or I've also had other jobs where I'm always driving, and I've been in multiple accidents. Almost all of them weren't my fault, but I never needed a license plate. I've talked to many friends who have been in accidents or witnessed accidents, and very rarely did anyone actually have to capture a license plate. So I don't put too many eggs into that basket. I don't think that's the most important feature. But either way, I do like to consider it in any camera I'm testing. So I'm going to keep testing this camera for about a month or so, and hopefully after a month I should have a full review. So if you like these videos, I'd love for you to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.